Okay, my name is Christina Hildebrand. I am the president and founder of A Voice for Choice Advocacy. And I wanted to come on tonight because a lot of people have a lot of questions about the referendum, which just was acknowledged today, and the initiatives that are possibly being talked about, and the Senator Pan recall and the Gavin Newsom recall, and then also sort of our thoughts on where time and effort should be spent. So the other one is the 2020 elections. So A Voice for Choice Advocacy was not involved with the SB277 referendum. We chose to not put our time and effort in there because we knew we wanted to spend our effort and time with the legislature, and that we felt that that was the place. We also had a lawsuit that we also sort of put our time and effort towards. The SB276 and SB714 referendum that was filed, I believe it was filed yesterday, but or it ended up being filed today. It was filed by the three women who were have been protesting. I believe they're calling themselves the Freedom Angels. And so it's Denise, Tara, and Heidi. And what I have heard, although we're waiting for a statement from them, but what I've heard is that they filed the referendum so that nobody else could sabotage it. And I will leave it to them to come out with a statement on that. That's what I've heard, but I will leave it to them to make a statement, and I'm sure everyone will be able to read that. An initiative, so a referendum, just for anybody who's not clear, a referendum, you can take a piece of legislation that is passed and signed by the governor. You have, I believe, 30 days in order to file the referendum, and you need to collect, I believe it's about 600,000 signatures. And for that referendum, if you get those signatures, then it will go on the ballot and it will be voted on in the next election. So that's a referendum. An initiative is similar in the number of signatures you have to get in order to file it or get it approved and on the ballot. But an initiative, thank you, somebody just let me know, 626,000 signatures. A initiative does the same thing, but you get to make up the topic. So it's not a bill that you're replacing. And the topic on that one, you're at the discretion of the Secretary of State to give you good wording and give you a good description. So one of the places where we saw that was not done was the gas tax repeal in the 2018 election. And Carl DeMaio did that, and he was very annoyed with the description was given, was very, very misleading. So you're at the behest of, while you can put in a lot of information into the long form of the initiative, what's the description that's put in the ballot document is up to the state, is up to the Secretary of State. So those are referendums and initiatives. Recalls, similarly, you have to get a certain number of signatures. That's a percentage of people that voted for that person. And then you have to get those signatures, and then that also goes on there's basically a recall. If you get those signatures, then there's a recall election, and that person that you are recalling goes up against someone else. So you have to have a candidate that they go up against. I would say to anybody who does not understand referendums, initiatives, recalls, Carl DeMaio is sort of has been in the trenches and been the boots on the ground for those things. And he is, who I've talked to him, I haven't talked to him personally, but I've sort of communicated with him. And I am expressing sort of the communications I've had with him, what he has found. So for referendums, initiatives, recalls, anybody who is involved in the SB277 referendum knows that it is a huge amount of effort to get these 626,000 signatures. And even when you get them, if you were to get them, and you have a certain limited period of time that you have to get them within, even if you get them, then it goes on the ballot. And you are leaving it up to the public to determine whether this gets revoked or whether the initiative gets put in place. And the issue there is that there are a couple of issues. And I will say, I'll come out and say that A Voice for Choice Advocacy does not endorse doing any sorts of referendums on SB276 and SB714. We don't endorse any initiatives, and we don't endorse any recalls. And I'll go through why we do that and where we think our efforts as a movement are better served. So the referendum, it gets put on a ballot initiative, exactly the wording of the law that has gone into place. That's what people are voting on. It's a vaccine issue. I get that it's a medical, when we were talking to legislators, we were saying that it was a medical exemption process issue, but realistically, it's a vaccine issue. The same with any initiative, even if it's disguised, it will become a vaccine issue because we're up against pharma. What we have to understand is that pharma has a bottomless pit of money, and they can go up against us extremely easily. And they already own the airwaves, they own the media. It's all about public opinion. And so we really don't feel that we can go up against pharma on a public initiative. The other thing is if the ballot comes back against us, then there is not a legislator in place that wants to touch this. They're going to say the public has said their piece. The public has said that they do not want choice. They do not want the doctors to be involved. They don't want anything. They want vaccine mandates. And we cannot afford that. We're not in a place that is strong enough in California to get that on the, to win it at a ballot. Let's just take some history. We have GMO labeling, we have gay marriage, and we have the gas tax. And all of those things should have been won on the ballot. Why didn't we win gay marriage on the ballot? We're in California. We were ground zero for that. And you have to realize the GMO labeling, that was a $60 million initiative. That means the side that wanted GMO labeling spent $60 million and they lost it. The gas tax repeal I looked up yesterday, there was about $40 million spent on that. We don't have that money, and we're going up against Big Pharma that has way more money. They probably have as much money as Monsanto, but they have way more money than the people that were on the other side of the gas tax. So we are up against something that we can't win if we do a referendum and initiative. I'll talk a little bit about the recalls. So the recall Senator Pan, and there's a recall Gavin Newsom. There are actually two recalls for Gavin Newsom. One is run by Aaron Cruz, and one is run by, and I can't remember his name, but I think it's Veltmeyer is his last name. The one thing with Veltmeyer is that he is a Republican, but he is a doctor, and he is a pro-vax doctor. So please, if you're going to do anything on the recall, please don't do his recall. Do Aaron Cruz's recall. If we are not saying that that's the place to put your time and effort. Gavin Newsom and the Senator Pan recall is by Austin Bennett. And if you know anything about Austin Bennett, he's the person that is not in our movement that shoved Senator Pan and really blew up a lot of stuff for our side. Legislatures definitely felt the need to support Pan in that time, and that did not help us at all. So we do not support the recall of Senator Pan. The other thing to know is that when in a recall, the person being recalled can raise as much money as they want. There are no limits on campaign financing. So their opponent, the person they're going up with, still has to abide by campaign financing laws, which means there's a restriction on how much money they get given by each individual, by PACs, by that kind of thing. The person who is being recalled has no limitation on that. So if you recall Senator Pan, he can get unlimited funding for that, which he can then roll over into any other campaign. And I believe at the end of his campaigns, that money can actually be paid to him. It can go out to him. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe when I was reading about it. So, recalls are something that we have to take very seriously. I will also say, I understand people are mad at Gavin Newsom for signing this bill. I get it. I am pissed at him too, personally. But we have to look at this from a long-term strategic viewpoint. And long term, Gavin Newsom is going to be in office. He's not going to lose the recall. So I go back to let me just sidetrack on that. I go back to Caldermayo. Caldermayo, after the gas tax repeal failed, when Gavin Newsom came into office, he did a full poll analysis of recalling Gavin Newsom, and he has money behind it. He can get the money. He got 32 million or 40 million on the gas tax initiative. If he were to go and want to go recall Gavin Newsom, I'm pretty sure he could get significant funding behind it. He did this poll, and what the poll found was that people weren't happy with Gavin Newsom's strategy or politics, so to speak, but that if he were to go up against someone in an election, 52% would vote for him still. And so he basically said it is not worth the money to go recall Gavin Newsom. Now, I agree with him. I think we have other places to put our time and money, and I'll get into that. But just speaking about the recall, and Gavin Newsom. So I get that people are annoyed with Gavin. I get that he signed this bill, he signed it. He did not veto it. He signed the bills, within half an hour of them being passed out of the Senate. Gavin Newsom and his wife they lean to our side. They understand our side. Politics was played on them. And I get that, if anything I learned this year of being in every legislative office, it is that politics trumps policy. There were so many legislators that understood our position. And I think, you people out in the grassroots, you also saw this. There were so many legislators that understood our position, but just didn't feel like they could vote no on this. Now, having said that, we did amazingly in the Assembly. We had 15 Democrats abstain on this vote. That is huge. That's way bigger from what we are, what we have ever done in this movement. We're moving in the right direction legislatively, and we need to run off of that. Gavin Newsom, I believe, I don't have this firsthand, but I believe what happened was he was told, yes, your 4 amendments are in SB714, and Pan then added stuff, and he basically said, yeah, if they're in there, I'll sign that. And he didn't know the other stuff that was put in 714. Now, should he have? Yes, but I think he was put basically between a rock and a hard place. I think if he had gone back and said, these still aren't the amendments that I wanted, this is still not a good enough bill. And I think, the press was coming out on him all over and, criticizing him. And he basically, had a choice of not signing it and having everyone go against him politically, or he had a choice of signing it, saving face for the moment, but being able to work with us next year to get a bill that rectifies the situation. I will also say that he yes, and people are saying I'm just reading the Periscope comments, yeah, he signed it immediately. Why was he signed it immediately? He signed it immediately because his cabinet and his people were pressuring to just shut this down. Now, I know we haven't left the Capitol, so it didn't quite work the way it wanted it, but they just wanted to shut it down. If he had not signed it, he basically would have been a sitting duck. And they just wanted it out of that building. So they did it all in one day. Do I think that's right? No. Do I think we should change our legislative process in that way? Absolutely. There are many things in this legislative process that should be changed. Anyway, I will say that we need Gavin on our side for next year. We are planning a Voice for Choice advocacy, and there are a couple of other organizations that I know of that are putting together bill packages to get bills forward next year. We're on a forward movement projection. And we do need him. We need him in our corner next year. And I do believe that if we continue to push him and to point fingers at him and to recall him, if we have a recall, and who do we have that replaces him? It's certainly not going to be a Republican. It's going to be somebody who runs up against Gavin, and it will be a Democrat. And it will not be somebody who wins. And so, I just think when we look at what we're spending our time and effort on, because we don't have a huge amount, we're all burnt out after this year. I would say go, take a breathing, and then a place to breathe and some time. But my perspective and our perspective is that we go after the 2020 primary elections. it is especially in the assembly, it is a place that we absolutely can make a difference. We can vote the people out that are not on our side. We can vote the people out that are that are really against us. We need to look at the Dems that voted yes on SB276. We need to look at the Dems that are in close races, that won by close races. We need to support the people who did abstain or vote no so that they stay in office. And I really think that that is the place. And the other thing I will say with the primaries is California has a top two system. That means that the top two people go into the general election. Every other state has the top two parties, the top two candidates from two different parties. We no longer have that. We on an initiative probably about 10 years ago now, we chose to have top two. What that means is we have Democrats running against Democrats, and we have to get Democrats that are on our side. We put a Republican up against them, we're not going to win unless it's a Republican versus Republican county. So Northern California, Orange County's flipping, and some of the Central Valley, Southern Central Valley. But we have to support the people that are on our side. We have to support the ones, as I was saying, that are in office, that are on our side and that voted with us. They don't have to vote with us. They just had to abstain. That was the best they can do, and I'm fine with that. That counts. And then we have to look at the districts, and we can really make a difference in the primaries. This is where we don't have to spend millions of dollars. We have to spend thousands of dollars, but we don't have to spend millions of dollars. And we can, there's boots on the ground there as well. You can go door knocking for candidates and go, be at their events and support them and find out how you can support them so that they can win. So I think, net, I went on a lot longer than I thought I was going to. But I really wanted to get out there that we need to think strategically, we need to think long-term, and we need to think legislatively. We've been shown that the legal system is not on our side right now. We've been shown that the other, things like referendums and initiatives, the big pharma will come in and just hammer us. And so where we can make a difference is in the 2020 primaries. And that's something that we will be working on with other groups to identify where the places are. And, candidates are starting. So the other thing that I would say to people is if you're interested in being in politics, you should, get in there, do something, run as a candidate. For the assembly districts are 1,000. The assembly districts are 500,000 and the senators are 1 million people, but only a very small proportion. It's about 70,000 people, I believe it is, that actually come in and vote for a assembly person. And I think it's about twice that, 50,000 that actually vote, that actually go to the ballot box. And they can be won by a few thousand people. It does make a difference, and it's a place we can make a difference. So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to wrap up just as a summary. And I would say, please, please, please share this far and wide. But from a Voice for Choice advocacy, we are putting our time and effort into the elections and also into getting a bill next year that our side is in control of and authoring. And we do not recommend doing referendums, initiatives, and recalls. When we're all so spread thin. So I just ask you to share this far and wide. I will be putting out a statement on Facebook and out on our newsletter. If you want to be on our newsletter, voiceforchoiceadvocacy.com .org, voiceforchoiceadvocacy.org, and voiceforchoice.org. You can sign up when you go on. There's a prompt for being on our newsletter. So thanks a lot. All right, take care. Bye-bye. All right.